Don Lemon, This is the Fire, What I Say to My Friends About Racism. In This is the Fire, What I Say to My Friends About Racism, author Don Lemon explores the issues of racism, racial violence, and the Black Lives Matter movement in America. The book dives into topics such as the historic roots of racism in America, the deliberate creation of a racist system, the use of violence against Black people, and the lack of empathy towards African American lives. Through these themes, Lemon discusses possible solutions to combat the issue of racism in American society by promoting empathy, re-evaluating cultural narratives, and taking economic action.
America's racial moment. In 2020, millions protested the murder of George Floyd by a white police officer. The event marked a turning point for America, reflecting a fire predicted by James Baldwin. The author believes the Black Lives Matter movement was necessary to acknowledge systemic racism, worsened by Donald Trump's presidency. However, for change to happen, people must make room for differences and unite against racism, misogyny, and homophobia. America's deliberate racist system. The Whitney plantation records show that Louisiana had 10 enslaved people in 1712, which rose to 20,000 by the end of the century. The system was created to dehumanize Black people and use them for the economic benefit of white people. Brutal violence was used to keep them submissive, and rebellion was met with savage punishment. This consciousness drove deeply held racial attitudes and tensions experienced till today. The author shares experiences of being trapped by low expectations and experiencing microaggressions, which stem from white supremacist ideas. To create a just society, a new system based on kindness and community needs to step in. The focus should not be on self-interest but on higher morals and values. Lack of empathy in times of crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted a concerning lack of empathy towards Black people that has existed for centuries. Black Americans have died from the virus at a rate almost 2 times higher than expected. This lack of empathy is not a new phenomenon, as it was prevalent during slavery and the Jim Crow era. The unfortunate reality is that leaders often get away with a lack of action when the public is paralyzed. While videos of racially motivated killings spark protests, the author questions when people will become desensitized. Black lives should always matter and not just after their deaths. Beyond defunding, changing the justice system to solve police brutality. The unfair treatment of Black people at the hands of the police has sparked calls to defund the police. However, the solution to police brutality lies in changing the entire justice system rather than eliminating it entirely. Police officers aren't well equipped to handle all situations, and they're exposed to a culture of violence and racial bias that stems from historical policing tactics. To tackle police brutality, specialized units and alternative forms of policing should be created, and policies that discriminate against Black people must be addressed. The author urges people to engage in the political process and push for legislative change. While the road to ending police brutality is long, it's necessary to make significant progress toward a more equitable and just society. White supremacy myths in American culture. The legacy of the lost cause mythology in American culture has promoted white supremacist tropes and narratives that influence prejudice in different environments. In his book, the author emphasizes the importance of empathy and calls for challenging misleading narratives that promote white supremacist ideas. While monuments and history books are common artifacts, other narratives in books, movies, and daily life still influence modern society. To overcome racial stereotypes, people should consume these stories with context and highlight the flawed tropes and narratives while discussing their origins. Fighting racism with spending power. The author shares his personal experience of racism in a store and advocates for using spending power to combat it. He argues that the economic foundation of racism in America can be addressed by reparations and boycotting racist brands and establishments. The author's account of being discriminated against in a store highlights the pervasive problem of racism in America. He connects this experience to the historical economic exploitation of Black people, which built wealth for white Americans while denying opportunities for progress to black people. The author argues that the solution to this economic foundation of racism is reparations, including education, better healthcare, and economic opportunities. However, the author stresses that reparations won't come from a sense of remorse and that racism won't end because of a change of heart. Instead, he proposes using spending power to make racism costly. By boycotting racist brands and establishments and filing lawsuits for police brutality, black people and their allies can make racism economically unsustainable. This strategy can create a more just and equitable economic structure that values all people.
Ultimately, This Is the Fire provides a powerful examination of the rampant racism and injustice faced by Black people in America, highlighting the urgent need for a change in the existing system. The book presents actionable strategies such as reevaluating cultural narratives that promote white supremacy, advocating for a reform in the justice system, and utilizing economic power to make racist behavior costly. By fostering empathy and promoting understanding among different racial and marginalized groups, Lemon envisions a future where America can heal from its painful past and take steps towards a more equitable and inclusive society.